Amara Bennett glanced at the restaurant entrance again. 7:18 p.m. She smiled at her friends, pretending she wasn't worried. He probably got caught in traffic, Daniel said. Amara shook her head. Professor Han doesn't get caught in traffic. Traffic gets caught behind Professor Han. Everyone laughed. But Amara checked her phone again. Nothing. For 6 years, Professor Han had never forgotten her birthday. He had been the first person to welcome her when she arrived in Seoul alone. When other firms rejected her because she was a foreign architect with no connections, he encouraged her to start her own studio. He had become more than a mentor. He was family. Tonight, she had expected him to sit in the empty chair beside her. Instead, the chair remained empty. 7:23. Then the restaurant suddenly became quiet. Amara looked toward the entrance. A black luxury sedan had stopped outside. Then another. Then a third. 2 men in dark suits entered. They scanned the room. Amara frowned. What's going on? Daniel looked through the window. I have no idea. The restaurant door opened again. And a tall Korean man in a perfectly tailored black suit stepped inside. Amara recognized him immediately. Kang Tae-hyun, Korea's most private billionaire. CEO of Kang Global, one of the country's most powerful investment companies. His face appeared regularly in business magazines, but he almost never attended social events. Amara had never spoken to him. Never met him. Never even been in the same room with him. Yet the moment he entered, his eyes moved across the restaurant and stopped directly on her. Amara looked behind herself. Maybe he was looking for someone else. But there was nobody there. The billionaire walked toward her table. Her friends became unusually quiet. He stopped in front of her. Amara Bennett? Her heart skipped. Yes. He reached into his coat. For one terrifying second, Amara wondered if something was wrong. Instead, he pulled out a small cream-colored gift box. He placed it gently on the table. Happy birthday. Amara stared at him. Then at the box. Then back at him. I think you have the wrong person. No. His answer was calm. I have the right person. How do you know my name? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the empty chair. Where is Professor Han? Amara's expression changed. Why? He was supposed to meet you here. He was. Taehyun's face became serious. He isn't coming? Amara stood. What happened? He collapsed at his office this afternoon. Her smile vanished. What? He was taken to the hospital. Is he alive? Yes. Is he conscious? Yes. Amara grabbed her handbag. I need to go. He knew you would say that. She stopped. What? Taehyun nodded toward the gift. He asked me to come here first. Why would he send you? He gave me this. Amara stared at the box. Why? I don't know. You're telling me Korea's most powerful businessman doesn't know why an old professor sent him to my birthday? A faint smile touched Taehyun's face. He gave me another instruction. Amara narrowed her eyes. What instruction? He looked at her for a moment. Then said. He told me not to leave until I knew you were smiling. Her friends exchanged glances. Amara almost laughed. This is insane. I agree. You don't know me. No. You've never met me. No. And yet you're here because Professor Han told you to make me smile? Yes. She shook her head. Professor Han has officially lost his mind. Taehyun's expression softened. He said you would say that too. Amara stared at him. Then despite everything she laughed. Just once. Taehyun nodded. He'll be pleased. She slowly sat down. For the first time she looked closely at the gift. Something about it felt familiar. She reached for the ribbon. Before opening it, she looked at Taehyun. Who are you to Professor Han? His answer came quietly. He was my professor. Amara froze. Your professor? 22 years ago. She looked at him differently. Suddenly, the billionaire wasn't just a stranger carrying a mysterious birthday gift. He was connected to the one person in Seoul she trusted most. Amara pulled the ribbon loose. Inside the box was an old brass drafting compass. Her breath caught. She knew it. Professor Han had used that exact compass when he taught her. She picked it up with trembling fingers. On the underside, 3 tiny letters had been engraved. Ibi. Her initials. Her eyes filled with tears. Taehyun watched silently. He had it engraved for me? Yes. When? Recently. Why? Taehyun shook his head. He didn't tell me. Amara looked at him. Then why give it to you? Tae-hyun's expression became strangely gentle. He said you would understand eventually. Amara looked down at the compass. She didn't understand. Not yet. But one thing was suddenly clear. Professor Han hadn't simply sent a birthday gift. He had deliberately chosen Kang Tae-hyun to deliver it. And Amara couldn't stop wondering why. She picked up her handbag. I need to see him. Tae-hyun nodded. I'll take you. She hesitated. I can drive myself. I know. Then why are you offering? Because tonight, you shouldn't have to do everything alone. Amara looked at him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she gave him the smallest smile. Fine. As they walked toward the exit, Amara glanced once more at the brass compass in her hand. She thought she was simply going to the hospital to see her mentor. She had no idea that the stranger who had walked into her birthday would soon become the most unexpected person in her life. And she certainly didn't know that within days, the same billionaire would become connected to the biggest opportunity and the biggest scandal of her career. At the hospital, Amara found Professor Han awake. He looked tired, but the moment he saw her, he smiled. You came. You sent a billionaire to my birthday. Professor Han laughed weakly. I knew that would get you here quickly. Amara sat beside him. Tae-hyun said you collapsed. I did. You scared me. I know. She looked toward the door. Tae-hyun is outside. Professor Han smiled. Good. Why did you send him? Because I wanted you to meet him. Why? Professor Han looked at her for a moment. Because sometimes the people who surprise us are the people we need most. Amara frowned. That doesn't answer my question. It will. She sighed. You're impossible. I've been told. Professor Han reached for her hand. Amara, don't judge him by his money. I wasn't planning to. Good. Because beneath all that power, he's a very lonely man. Amara glanced toward the door. That's hard to believe. You'll see. When Amara stepped into the hallway, Tae-hyun was sitting alone. No phone. No assistant. No security team around him. Just a quiet man waiting. You didn't have to stay, Amara said. I promised Professor Han. He's fine now. I know. So you can go. Tae-hyun stood. Would you like me to? Amara hesitated. No. The answer surprised both of them. Tae-hyun gave a small smile. Then I'll stay. That was how it started. Not with romance. Not with attraction. Just two strangers sitting in a hospital corridor because neither wanted Professor Han to feel alone. Over the next few days they kept running into each other. Tae-hyun visited Professor Han every afternoon. Amara came after work. Eventually their conversations became less awkward. She discovered that Korea's most powerful billionaire couldn't cook anything more complicated than instant noodles. He discovered that Amara drank coffee strong enough to frighten him. You're going to destroy your heart, he told her one evening. You're going to destroy yours by never taking a day off. I take days off. When? He thought about it. I don't remember. She laughed. Tae-hyun smiled. He liked making her laugh. More than he should. One evening, Amara complained about her architecture studio. Sometimes I think I'm building a company nobody wants. Tae-hyun looked at her. Do you believe in your work? Yes. Then keep going. That's your advice? Yes. That's terrible advice. Why? Because I was expecting something profound from a billionaire. He smiled. I'm better at business than advice. Clearly. Their friendship grew quietly. No headlines. No cameras. Just small conversations. And Amara began seeing the man behind the billionaire. Then one Friday morning, everything changed. Amara was sitting in her tiny studio when Daniel rushed through the door. Amara. She looked up. What happened? He dropped a folder on her desk. We made the shortlist. She opened it. Her eyes widened. The Hanul Heritage Redevelopment Project. One of Seoul's most prestigious architectural projects. 4 firms had been selected. 3 were enormous Korean companies. The 4th was hers. Her tiny studio. This can't be real. It is. Amara stared at the document. If she won, her studio would survive. Maybe even grow. 4 years, she'd been one major contract away from finally proving herself. And now that opportunity had arrived. Then she saw the company behind the project. Kang Global. Her smile disappeared. Tae-hyun. Daniel looked at her. You know the CEO? Amara hesitated. Yes. Daniel's eyes widened. The billionaire? Unfortunately. He laughed. This could be good. No. Why not? Because if I win, everyone will think he helped me. Daniel became serious. You're right. Amara closed the folder. I'll do it anyway. 3 days later, Amara entered the final presentation room. And there he was. Tae-hyun sat at the far end of the table. Their eyes met. Neither smiled. Amara walked to the presentation screen. Before she began, she looked directly at him. I hope you haven't touched this decision. Tae-hyun answered calmly. I haven't. And you won't. I won't. She nodded. Good. Then she turned toward the committee. Her presentation began. She didn't talk about money. She talked about people. About preserving Seoul's history while creating a place where ordinary families could still live, work, and gather. She proposed restoring the historic buildings instead of demolishing them. When one committee member challenged her, why should a small foreign-owned studio handle a project this large? Amara didn't hesitate. Because the size of the company isn't the size of the idea. The room became silent. She continued. I don't want to build something people photograph once and forget. I want to build somewhere people return to. When she finished, even Tae-hyun looked impressed. 3 days later, Amara received the call. Her firm had won. She cried. Daniel shouted. They celebrated with cheap sparkling water because they couldn't afford champagne. Then Amara received a message. From Tae-hyun. You earned it. Congratulations. She smiled. For one beautiful evening, everything was perfect. Until the next morning. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Daniel called. Amara, don't open social media. She already had. The first headline read, Billionaire CEO's close friend wins Seoul's biggest redevelopment contract. Another followed. Did Amara Bennett win on talent or access? Then came the photograph. Amara and Tae-hyun leaving a restaurant together. The caption underneath made her stomach turn. Who really deserved the contract? Amara stared at the screen. Her greatest achievement had lasted less than 24 hours. Now the entire world was questioning whether she had earned it. And for the first time, she wondered if becoming friends with Kang Tae-hyun had been the biggest mistake of her life. By noon, Amara's name was everywhere. Business blogs, entertainment pages, social media. Even television commentators were discussing her. But nobody was talking about her architecture. They were talking about Tae-hyun. Billionaire CEO's mystery woman wins major Seoul contract. Did personal connections influence the decision? Then came the comment that hurt the most. She probably knew exactly how to get the billionaire's attention. Amara closed her laptop. Her hands were shaking. Daniel stood across the office. Don't read the comments. I wasn't going to. You were. She looked at him. They're saying I slept with him. Daniel had no answer. Amara walked to the window. For 6 years she had worked for this. She had been rejected because she was foreign. She had been told her studio was too small. She had worked nights when she couldn't afford employees. She had nearly closed the business twice. And now, after finally winning the biggest project of her career, strangers had reduced everything to one question. Who did she sleep with? Her phone rang. Tae-hyun. She stared at the screen before answering. What did you do? I didn't do anything. That's the problem. He was silent. They're saying you gave me the contract. I didn't. But everyone thinks you did. I know. Then fix it. I can. Amara closed her eyes. No. What? Don't? Amara? I don't want your lawyers. You need protection. I need my name. Tae-hyun went quiet. She continued. If you make one phone call and these stories disappear, everyone will say you used your power to protect me. I understand. No, you don't. Her voice cracked. I built this company from nothing. I don't want anyone thinking I needed a billionaire boyfriend to win a contract. There was a long silence. Then Tae-hyun said, You're right. Amara hadn't expected that. I'll stay out of it. She swallowed. Thank you. And Amara? Yes. You won because your design was the best. Her eyes filled with tears. How do you know? Because I saw it. The call ended. Amara sat quietly. She wanted to believe him. She did. But believing him didn't make the rumors disappear. The following days were brutal. One client postponed a project. Another questioned whether her studio could be trusted. A reporter waited outside her office. Then one morning, Amara received an email from Kang Global. Independent review of the Hanul Heritage selection process. She opened it. Tae-hyun had removed himself from the project. He had requested that an independent panel review the entire selection process. Every score. Every vote. Every communication. Everything. Amara stared at the screen. She immediately called him. You did this? Yes. Why? Because you asked me to stay out of your career. She frowned. That doesn't explain this. It does. How? I'm not defending you. He paused. I'm giving you a chance to defend yourself without me. Amara couldn't speak. He continued. If the committee made the wrong decision, you shouldn't have the contract. Her heart sank. And if I didn't deserve it? Then the investigation will prove it. And if I did? Then nobody will ever be able to say you won because of me. Amara slowly sat down. For the first time she understood. Tae-hyun wasn't trying to save her reputation. He was trying to make sure her reputation didn't depend on him. 5 days later, the independent review was completed. Amara was sitting in her office when Daniel rushed in. We have the report. She opened it. Her eyes moved down the page. Then stopped. No evidence of external influence was found. She read the next section. The committee members had been interviewed individually. Their scoring sheets had been compared. Every vote had been verified. Then she saw the final result. Amara's proposal had received the highest score from every voting member. Not one. Not two. Every single one. She looked up. They all ranked us first? Daniel nodded. Every one. Amara's eyes filled. So I really won. You really won. She laughed through her tears. After everything, the truth had finally spoken. Her design had been better. Her work had been better. She had earned the contract. The investigation report was released publicly that afternoon. The headlines changed almost immediately. Independent review clears Amara Bennett of favoritism. Architect won Seoul project on merit, not connections. The same people who had attacked her now apologized. Some didn't. But Amara no longer cared. Because she finally knew the truth. She hadn't needed Tae-hyun's power. She had needed someone willing to stay out of the way long enough for her own talent to be seen. That evening, Amara looked at the old brass compass Professor Han had given her. Then she smiled. She finally understood why he had sent Tae-hyun to her birthday. It wasn't because Tae-hyun could change her life. It was because he was one of the few people powerful enough to change it, and humble enough not to. Amara picked up her phone. She opened Tae-hyun's contact. This time she didn't hesitate. She called. He answered almost immediately. Amara? She smiled. The investigation cleared me. I know. You knew. I received the report. You didn't call. You asked me to stay away. She laughed softly. You really listen, don't you? When you ask me to. There was a pause. Then Amara said the word she had been afraid to say. I miss you. Silence. Then Tae-hyun's voice softened. I miss you too. Amara smiled. Good. Good? Yes. Why? Because I have something to ask you. What? Dinner. Tae-hyun laughed. Is that all? For now. She heard him smile. I know a place. Nothing expensive. I'll try. And no security convoy. I'll try harder. Amara laughed. For the first time in weeks, her heart felt light. But she wasn't finished. There was still one thing she needed to tell him. Because if they were going to move forward, she needed to make one thing absolutely clear. She wasn't looking for a billionaire to change her life. She was looking for a man who would walk beside her. And Tae-hyun was about to discover exactly what that meant. 3 weeks later, the Hanul Heritage Project officially began. Amara's little studio was busier than it had ever been. Her team had doubled. New clients were calling. Architectural magazines were asking for interviews. And for the first time since she arrived in Seoul, Amara no longer wondered whether she belonged. She knew she did. But there was still one person she hadn't seen since their dinner. Kang Tae-hyun. He had kept his promise. He stayed out of her career. He didn't attend meetings. He didn't call her clients. He didn't use his influence. But somehow he remained in the corners of her thoughts. One evening, Amara stayed late at the studio. She was reviewing the final drawings when her phone buzzed. A message. Are you still working? She smiled. Maybe. His reply came quickly. That means yes. She laughed. How do you know? Because you always say maybe when you're tired. She stared at the screen. Then typed. Are you keeping track of my habits? There was a pause. Maybe. She smiled. For several seconds, neither of them sent another message. Then, dinner tomorrow? Amara looked at the time. She could hear Daniel and the rest of the team packing up around her. She typed. Tomorrow. But no business. Agreed. And no expensive restaurant. Agreed. And no security convoy. A longer pause. That's negotiable. She laughed. Good night, Tae-hyun. Good night, Amara. She put the phone down. But she was still smiling when Daniel walked past. He stopped. What's that smile? Nothing. That's definitely not nothing. Amara ignored him. The next evening, Tae-hyun arrived alone. No convoy. No assistants. No cameras. Just a simple dark jacket and the same quiet smile she had begun to recognize. You came. You invited me. I wasn't sure you would. I was. They walked into a small restaurant tucked away on a quiet Seoul street. No private dining room. No luxury. Just warm lights, ordinary tables, and people enjoying their evening. Amara looked around. This is perfect. I thought you'd like it. They sat across from each other. For the first time, there was no Professor Han between them. No hospital. No business. No scandal. Just two people. They talked for hours. About childhood. About dreams. About failure. About the lives they wanted before success complicated everything. Then Tae-hyun became quiet. Amara. Yes. There is something I should tell you. She waited. I've been trying to find the right time. For what? He looked at her. I don't want to be someone who makes your life smaller. Her expression softened. I know. I don't want your success to be associated with me. I know. I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything. I don't. He smiled. Good. Then he reached across the table. Not touching her. Just leaving his hand there. I care about you. Amara looked at his hand. Then at him. I know. I care about you more than I expected. She smiled. I know that too. He laughed quietly. You make this very difficult. I'm an architect. We make complicated things. That made him laugh. Then Amara placed her hand over his. But if we're going to do this. His eyes met hers. There is one condition. Anything. Don't walk in front of me because you're powerful. He nodded. Okay. Don't try to fix everything because you have the money to fix it. I won't. And don't make decisions for me because you think you know what's best. I promise. Amara squeezed his hand. Walk beside me because you love me. Tae-hyun looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. I can do that. Amara smiled back. Then maybe we have a chance. 6 months later, the first phase of the Hanul Heritage Project opened. The historic buildings had been preserved. The new public spaces were alive. Families walked through the restored courtyard. Children played beneath the trees. Small businesses opened along the pedestrian streets. Amara stood quietly at the entrance, watching everything she had imagined become real. Professor Han arrived beside her. He looked around proudly. You did it. Amara smiled. We did it. He shook his head. No. He pointed toward the buildings. You did it. Amara looked down at the brass drafting compass hanging from her bag. The birthday gift. The strange beginning. The unexpected man. Everything suddenly made sense. Professor Han smiled. You finally understand. Understand what? Why I sent him. Amara laughed. You really planned this. I created an opportunity. You're impossible. I've been told. They laughed together. Then Amara heard a familiar voice behind her. Professor. She turned. Tae-hyun stood several feet away. No entourage. No cameras. Just him. Professor Han smiled. I think my work here is finished. He walked away before either of them could protest. Amara looked at Tae-hyun. You know he did that deliberately. Yes. Of course you do. Tae-hyun stepped closer. It's beautiful. Amara looked around. It is. No. He looked at her. You are. She smiled. That was smooth. I practiced. She laughed. Then he held out his hand. Amara looked at it. She took it. They began walking through the courtyard. Not ahead. Not behind. Side by side. And Amara finally understood what Professor Han had been trying to teach her all along. The right person doesn't need to build your life for you. They don't need to rescue you. They don't need to take credit for your victories. They simply believe in you enough to let you become everything you were meant to be. Tae-hyun looked at her. Happy birthday. Amara laughed. That was 6 months ago. I know. Then why are you saying it now? Because I never gave you the gift I really wanted to give you. She raised an eyebrow. What is it? He smiled. My time. Amara squeezed his hand. Then don't waste it. I won't. And together they walked forward. Not as billionaire and architect. Not as powerful man and struggling woman. But as two people who had discovered something far more valuable than success. They had discovered a love that didn't ask either of them to become smaller. It simply gave them someone to walk beside. And sometimes, the most unexpected person who enters your life is the one who was never meant to stand in front of you, but beside you. 6 months earlier, Amara had been sitting alone at a birthday dinner, wondering why Professor Han had not arrived. She had expected an old friend. Instead, a billionaire had walked through the door carrying a gift. Now, standing in the middle of the completed Hanul Heritage Project, she looked around at everything they had built. The historic buildings were still standing. The old courtyard was filled with children. Families walked through the gardens. Small businesses had reopened. And her name was engraved on the architectural plaque. Amara Bennett Studio, lead design architect. She touched the brass drafting compass hanging from her bag. The gift that had started everything. Professor Han approached her slowly. "You're thinking too much." Amara smiled. "I was just remembering my birthday." "The strangest birthday of your life." "Definitely." He looked toward the courtyard. "And?" Amara laughed. "You knew exactly what you were doing." Professor Han raised an innocent eyebrow. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You sent Tae-hyun. I introduced 2 people. You sent a billionaire to my birthday." "He needed somewhere to go." Amara laughed. "You're impossible." Professor Han smiled. Then his expression became serious. "I wanted you to meet someone who would never ask you to become smaller so he could feel bigger." Amara looked at him. "And you knew he would be that person?" "I hoped." She squeezed his hand. "You were right." Professor Han smiled. Then he quietly walked away. Amara turned. Tae-hyun was standing at the other end of the courtyard. This time there was no convoy, no security team, no corporate executives, just him. He walked toward her. "You look happy." "I am." "You should be." She smiled. "I finally understand something." "What?" "When you first came to my birthday, I thought you were the strangest person I'd ever met." "You still think that?" "Absolutely." He laughed. She looked around. "Do you remember what you told me?" "Which part?" "That I won because my design was the best." "I remember." "You were right." "I know." She narrowed her eyes. "That was very arrogant. I'm a billionaire." She laughed. Then Tae-hyun's expression softened. "I never wanted to be the reason you succeeded." "I know. I just wanted to be there when you did." Amara looked at him. "You were." He took her hand. "I have one question." "Go ahead." "Do you still have that condition?" Amara smiled. "You mean the one about walking beside me?" "Yes." She looked down at their hands. Then back at him. "It still stands." "And?" "And you seem to be doing pretty well." He smiled. "Then may I keep walking beside you?" Amara stepped closer. "You'd better." He laughed softly. She rested her head against his shoulder. For a moment, neither said anything. Then Amara whispered, "You know what's funny?" "What?" "When you showed up at my birthday, I thought you had the wrong person." Tae-hyun smiled. "I didn't." "No." She looked up at him. "You had exactly the right person." He gently squeezed her hand. "And I had no idea how much that one decision would change my life." They stood together beneath the lights of the restored courtyard. Not billionaire and architect. Not CEO and designer. Just Tae-hyun and Amara. 2 people who had met by accident, or perhaps because someone wiser had arranged the perfect accident. And somewhere in Amara's studio, the old brass compass remained on her desk. A reminder of the night a stranger arrived carrying a birthday gift. A reminder that her success had always belonged to her. And a reminder that love, when it is real, doesn't take away your strength. It respects it, it protects it, and most importantly, it walks beside you.